Moving on now, we now shift our focus to the United States, where the Trump administration continues to claim credit for brokering peace in major global conflicts, including the India-Pakistan standoff, despite firm denials from the Indian government. The latest to join the so-called Trump peacemaker brigade is U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Speaking to some leading U.S. television news channels, Rubio stated that the United States monitors the India-Pakistan situation every single day. He acknowledged that while reaching a ceasefire is important, maintaining it is often the more difficult challenge. He praised the Trump administration's foreign policy, saying the president has prioritized peace not only in South Asia but in other regions like Cambodia, Thailand and Russia-Ukraine. Now, this echoes previous claims by President Trump himself, who has repeatedly suggested that his administration played a key role in reducing tensions between India and Pakistan, a claim that New Delhi has consistently rejected. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during the discussion on Operation Sindoor in Parliament, stated very firmly, very clearly, very categorically that no leader of any country had asked India to stop Operation Sindoor. This sentiment was echoed by External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, who also stated that there was no third-party intervention in reaching a ceasefire with Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. In fact, to discuss this further, I'm joined by Manish Chand, CEO, Center for Global India Insights. Thank you very much, Mr. Chand, for joining us on News9 Special. You heard Marco Rubio saying that the United States is monitoring the India-Pakistan situation every single day. So help us decode this. Who exactly is asking Washington in the first place to monitor our bilateral issues?
Yeah, I think, this is the superpower complex which the United States has. This is typical behavior of a hegemon that we are watching the world. But you also have to see that US being the most powerful country in the world will be watching for potential flashpoints. But if you look at its formulation, that we are keeping a watch on every single day, this tends to hype up the threat, the warlike situation, which it could be anytime degenerate into that. And this provides the United States some sort of lever to meddle in. What we have already stated is strictly a bilateral affair between India and Pakistan. And also you have to read this in conjunction with his remarks talking about ceasefires are not permanent, and we need to have a peace deal. Of course, you were talking about all this in the context of the Russia-Ukraine war. But if you carry it further and say that maybe Rubio would be saying, or Trump would be saying, is that we need a peace deal between India and Pakistan. So this is a kind of dangerous interventionism which will clearly not be accepted by India. On the repeated claims by President Trump and his administration that US brokered the ceasefire, we have rejected it with vehemence. Prime Minister Modi has stated that in Parliament. External Affairs Jaishankar, we have to believe our leaders. Whose version do we believe in? And the facts also suggest that it was Pakistan, battered Pakistan, which is badly pulverized, his military and terror facilities by Indian Air Force jets. And recently we heard Indian Air Force chief saying that, 5 Pakistani aircraft were downed and all that. It was a battered and humiliated Pakistan that had to sue for a ceasefire. And US may have a tangential role, but clearly it was not brokering the ceasefire. I think it was done strictly, as we have said countless times, between the DGMOs of India and Pakistan.
Let me also ask you this, Mr. Chand, help us understand. The United States keep pushing the narrative that it brokered peace between India and Pakistan despite New Delhi's repeated denials. And now we've seen how Washington is rolling out the red carpet for the Pakistani general, making big
Right.
promises. The question here is, what does this signal? Is the United States trying to box India into a corner?
Uh, I mean, this is really hard to decode, given the history of close strategic partnership between India and the United States. All the recent statements, recent postures from President Trump and the Trump administration have been deeply disturbing. What is US trying to achieve? By repeating, I believe by last count, at least 40 times, US has made that claim and India has rejected it. It does not, it is not good optics. It is bad diplomacy. And I think there are two or three things that are driving US to persist with this narrative. Number one is President Trump's own fixation with the Nobel Peace Prize and his desire to project him as the world's premier peacekeeper. And there is a and using India, Pakistan. So you see recently, if you look at it, what he had done with Azerbaijan, Armenia. So he want to take India, Pakistan, now Russia, Ukraine. On one label, he's trying to project himself as the peacekeeper, but on the other side, and what is not acceptable to India is that third-party interventionism. Number one. Number two, we got to figure out what is it that has suddenly made US so receptive to Pakistan's charm offensive, Pakistan PR machinery, if I can put it that way. This tilt or pivot towards Pakistan doesn't make any sense. I mean, in the sense that US, which has positioned itself as a kind of lead power against terrorism, is trying to cultivate close relations with Pakistan, a terror sponsoring state. And there is objective evidence to that. It is not just propaganda or spin or narrative. So on the face of it, it doesn't make sense. Now, there are other things which are probably driving. If you look at the Independence Day message by President Trump from the US side, from the US to India on the Independence Day of India, and if you compare it with the US message on Independence Day of Pakistan, the message to India talks about partnership in the Indo-Pacific. It talks about partnership in technology, innovation in space. It is a vast agenda. It is an agenda which is bodes well not only for the two countries, but for the world at large. On the other hand, what he's talking about is transactionalism at the best. In his message to Pakistan, he's talking about partnering in economic areas, critical minerals, oil. All these years, the US was appears to be napping. Suddenly they found oil. Suddenly they found critical minerals. They were there all along. So I believe there is a lobby that is driving this pivot towards Pakistan. It's
Right.
also I get a sneaking suspicion that he also probably wants to put India in its place. And
Right.
that's primarily because India refused to buy his narrative. And Trump being an egotistic
Right.
person,
On on
president.
on on
Yeah,
that note, Mr. Chand, India has made it clear that Operation Sindoor was our own decision with no
right,
outside role. But when the
right.
US keeps projecting itself as a peacemaker, the bigger question here is, should New Delhi just ignore these claims or push back harder so that the world doesn't buy into Washington's version?
You see, I mean, this narrative war will go on for quite some time till actually Trump climbs down and accept that. So we got to wait for that. Yeah, we got to be pushing our narrative. And I think we are doing that. If you look at it, the repeated messaging from our top leaders. In fact, there was a parliamentary delegation. There were several parliamentary delegations sent to around 33 countries in the aftermath. These were the cross-party delegations. So this was not just the government speaking. This is the cross-party consensus in India, which is rejecting in one voice any claim of third-party mediation. So it is not the government of the day alone which is doing that. It is also all political parties have joined hands together to reject this narrative, to reject this attempt at interventionism. And the core principle which we have already always espoused, which is that no third-party mediation will be allowed. And Operation Sindoor, as you said, that it was clearly our autonomous decision. And not only that, we had made it very clear that this time around, if any terror attack takes place, and now PM has stated his own doctrine of new normal, that this would be the normal response, that disproportionate retaliation is like, you basically paying your enemy in the same coin. It is simple as that blood for blood in a way. And talks and trade won't go together. Blood and water won't flow together. So this is this is the message of a new assertive India, that we will not accept terrorism, proxy war perpetrated by Pakistan, and that we will not accept any intervention by the world when they try to bully us into accepting their narrative, or trying to push us into, or trying to, create a false equivalence.
Absolutely. And Mr. Chand,
Yeah,
just to sum it up, at the heart of it, Operation
yeah.
Sindoor did reaffirm India's strategic autonomy, and no external claims can take that away. Thank you very
Right.
much, Mr. Manish Chand, for joining us on News9 Special.